They never taught you this in school. Not how the rich think. Not how they rise. Not how some people start with nothing and still build everything. But this book, this one whispers secrets only the successful were ever meant to know. Welcome to Bookleesh, where books don't just teach, they transform. Today, you're not just listening to a summary. You're stepping into a blueprint that's created millionaires, rebuilt broken dreams, and sparked revolutions, all through the power of thought. Stay with me till the very end, because what you're about to hear could be the turning point you've been waiting for. He wasn't born rich. He didn't grow up with connections. But one question consumed him more than anything else. Why do some people with little education or background become unimaginably wealthy, while others with talent, intelligence, and hard work remain poor? Napoleon Hill wasn't looking for money. He was searching for truth. The turning point came in a quiet, serious meeting with Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in the world. Carnegie offered Hill a task. He wouldn't pay him for it. There were no guarantees. But if Hill accepted, he'd get something far more valuable than a paycheck: access to the minds of the greatest achievers of their time. Hill said yes. He then spent over 2 decades interviewing the most successful people in America: Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Theodore Roosevelt. And what he discovered was not a list of business strategies. It was a pattern of thought, a way of being, a mindset so powerful that once a person adopted it, success was no longer an accident. It was inevitable. But not everyone believed him. Even as Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, many said it was fantasy, illusion, wishful thinking. And yet, reader after reader, those who did believe, changed their lives forever. You see, success isn't born in the bank. It begins in the mind. It begins with a desire so strong, it makes everything else feel like background noise. Hill said this: every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Sounds extreme, but that's how winners think. They don't try, they decide. And that's the first truth of wealth. You must know what you want. Not hope, not wish, but know. This desire, backed by belief, becomes a force stronger than luck, talent, or connections. But here's where most people fall. They want success, but they're afraid of failure. They dream of wealth, but they fear judgment. They crave change, but cling to comfort. That's the conflict inside every one of us. And the reason Think and Grow Rich is more than just a money book. It's a mirror, a challenge, a quiet voice asking, how badly do you want it? And what are you willing to give in return? Because here's the truth: there is no success without sacrifice, no dream without discipline, and no riches without risk. Most people give up before they even begin. But those who finish this book, they don't just read, they decide. The world tells us success is for the lucky, for the chosen. But Napoleon Hill discovered something far more dangerous and far more empowering. Success isn't given. It's created, one thought at a time. Thoughts. That's where it all begins. But not just any thoughts. Thoughts backed by emotion, by belief, by repetition. Thoughts so powerful they bend reality. But if it's that simple, why doesn't everyone succeed? Because the mind isn't loyal to your dreams. It's loyal to your patterns. You say you want to be rich, but your habits are poor. You say you want to be free, but your thoughts are shackled. You imagine a better life, but you keep speaking fear, living doubt, breathing excuses. Hill watched countless people fall into this trap. They had the vision, but not the will. They had the desire, but not the discipline. And the moment resistance showed up, when the world pushed back, they folded. Because thinking and growing rich sounds easy, but thinking with faith when everything around you is falling apart, that's the hard part. That's where auto-suggestion comes in. What you say to yourself becomes the script of your life. The quiet sentences, repeated each day: I can't, it's too hard, I'm not enough, they turn into reality before you even notice. But the same is true in reverse. If you tell yourself, I will win, I will rise, nothing will stop me, and mean it, the world begins to change. Not instantly, not without a fight, but slowly, like gravity shifting, like doors that used to be locked suddenly swinging open. Still, most people stop there. They dream, they affirm, but they never act. And that's the next secret Hill uncovered. Desire is nothing without decision. You must decide, not once, every day, every moment. When fear whispers, when failure mocks you, when nothing seems to be working, you decide again, and again, and again. Hill found that indecision is the silent killer of dreams. People wait, they hesitate, they overthink. And while they're thinking, someone else is building. Someone else is failing forward. Someone else is turning belief into progress. But even those who decide will still face the one test no one escapes: persistence. Every great fortune has behind it a long, invisible war. A war most people never see. Rejection, delay, embarrassment, loss, failure. Hill saw this again and again. Those who persisted, despite every reason to quit, were the ones who broke through. It wasn't intelligence that made them win. It was obsession. The kind that outlasts failure. The kind that sees past the darkness. And that's the difference between the curious and the committed. The curious read the book. The committed live it. By now, Hill had spoken to enough legends to see the pattern clearly. Success wasn't a matter of chance or even just talent. It was a mental formula, a blueprint for belief. But still, he saw good people fail, again and again. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they were missing one critical piece: the mastermind. You see, no one succeeds alone. Not truly. The myth of the lone genius is just that, a myth. Behind every great man or woman, there was a circle, a connection, a web of minds that lifted each other higher. Hill called it the Mastermind Alliance, a meeting of two or more minds in perfect harmony, working toward a common goal. And when these minds connect with emotion, trust, and shared belief, they don't just add to each other, they multiply each other. Ford had Edison, Carnegie had Schwab, even Hill had Carnegie to light the way. But most people, they surround themselves with doubt, with fear, with people who mock their dreams and feed their insecurities. And they wonder why they feel stuck. You can't grow wealthy with a poor circle. That's why Hill said, protect your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future isn't just shaped by your actions, but by the voices you allow in your head. Still, even with a mastermind, a burning desire, and a strong belief system, one enemy remains. The most subtle, most dangerous of all: fear. Fear is the invisible thief of destiny. It doesn't shout. It whispers. What if you fail? What will people say? Who do you think you are? It creeps in when you're tired, when you're doubting, when your plan falls apart. And Hill didn't just observe fear, he named it. 6 fears, to be exact: fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. They hide behind our actions, pretending to be logic, pretending to be caution. But in truth, they are the prison bars of the mind. Hill watched dreams die because of fear. He saw brilliant men paralyzed by what might happen. And yet, he also saw those who pushed through, who stood tall in spite of shaking knees. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to walk anyway. And that's what separates the average from the unstoppable. They feel fear, but they don't bow to it. This is what Think and Grow Rich really asks of you. Not just to read, but to change. Not just to learn, but to choose. To choose faith over fear, decision over delay, persistence over perfection, and action over excuses. And the moment you do, the world won't change instantly, but you will. And that's where real wealth begins. Even with all the knowledge, desire, faith, persistence, a mastermind, auto-suggestion, there's something else Hill kept noticing. A pattern that appeared when success seemed impossible, and yet someone still rose. It was something invisible, something spiritual, something beyond logic. Hill called it the sixth sense. He didn't mean magic. He meant intuition. That quiet voice you hear in moments of clarity, in moments of silence. It's not loud. It doesn't beg. But when you listen, it leads you exactly where you need to go. And yet, most people ignore it. They drown it in noise, in opinions, in fear, in endless overthinking. But the truly rich? They learn to listen. They take action without every answer. They move forward when others hesitate. They feel their way forward, and the world bends to meet them. Still, this isn't some fairy tale. The road to riches is long. And for many, the most painful chapter comes right before the breakthrough. That's the strange paradox Hill found in nearly every story of success. Defeat often comes right before the miracle. People fail not because they lack potential, but because they quit inches from the goal. They walk away when they should have pushed. They stop believing one moment before the breakthrough. And that's the cruel trick of life. It tests you. It hides your victory behind one final wall. And only those who refuse to bow break through. There's a moment in every dreamer's journey when everything looks like it's falling apart. When you're alone, broke, tired, when nothing makes sense. But those who continue, despite the silence, despite the pain, they don't just succeed. They transform. Because Think and Grow Rich was never about riches alone. It was about who you become when nothing is left but your mind and your will. And if you still have that, you're not finished. You're just getting started. So think, and keep thinking, because when thought is clear, desire is pure, and belief is unshakable, you don't just grow rich. You grow powerful. And now you know the truth. Success isn't random. It's not gifted to the chosen few. It's built day by day, thought, by those who dare to believe. This book wasn't written for those who are comfortable. It's for the restless, the hungry, the ones who feel something stirring inside them, something bigger than their circumstances. You've heard the voices of giants. You've walked through the mind of Napoleon Hill. Now it's your turn. Not just to dream, but to decide. Not just to want, but to act. Not just to hope, but to become. Because the power is already within you. It always was. Now, what will you do with it? Thank you for staying with me on this powerful journey through Think and Grow Rich. I hope this wasn't just a summary for you, but a spark. I'd love to hear from you. What's the one book that changed your life? And which book should I dive into next? Drop your answers in the comment box. I read every single one. And if this inspired you even a little, don't forget to subscribe to Bookleesh. Because the right book, at the right time, can rewrite your entire story.